broadcasting from an undisclosed location under a farm pond somewhere in the Midwest. Your host is Jim Crowley. This is SlickFish Radio. And we are back at it again. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of SlickFish Radio. We're going to have a fun time tonight. A longtime friend of mine and the host of Big Water Adventures. I don't know, I think maybe 18, 19 years now, something crazy like that. Mark Davis is going to join us here in just a little bit. And we're going to have fun. I love saltwater fishing. I don't get to do it nowhere near as much as Mark does. And I don't think anybody, I honestly don't think anybody on television catches as many big fish or as many fish that most people haven't heard of than Mark Davis. And he does it all over the world. The guy has traveled, hunted, and fished everywhere. I've known him, oh, good gracious, I don't know, 25 years. I don't know, something like that. It's been a long time. Anyway, so we're looking forward to that. First and foremost, I want to thank our friends over at Shields in Springfield, Illinois. They are all geared up. They are ready. Their hunting season is here. And they have a great, matter of fact, a friend of mine just bought an awesome shotgun down there at Shields in Springfield. Very intelligent workers that work there, whether you're fishing, whether you're hunting. I don't care if you're biking like I love to bike. Shields has the employees that know what you need to know to get better at the sports that you have passion for. So Shields is a place. Our friends over at Lure Parts Online, hopefully you've been seeing Lure Parts Online now has a TikTok page. They also just re-up their YouTube page as well as Facebook. Follow Lure Parts on all that social media, because man, there's going to be a whole bunch of new videos and new things. Oh, my wife just chimed in. Look at this. I hope I win. You already won, honey. You married me. Yeah, right. I don't even want to hear what's going to come after she said that. I'm glad she's upstairs. So anyway, we got a whole bunch of stuff coming from Lure Parts coming out. You'll see the videos coming out. So please make sure you follow those pages. Our friends at Wired to Fish Coffee. Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm drinking right now. And you're going to see that Mark does the same thing. Two high energy guys. How do you think we start our morning up? We started out with coffee, and we started out with the coffee that gives back up to 25% to not only fishing, but faith-based initiatives. God bless Wired to Fish Coffee for making a difference. We are glad to have them as part of the show. Our friends over at Mudhole. I've thanked you guys the last couple months, but I am so grateful. My signature rod series is doing really well. You know who that's because? That's because of all of you. That's because of all of you. I couldn't do this if it wasn't for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very blessed for all of you. The signature series are doing great. There's a lot of good stuff coming out from Mudhole, and you'll be seeing that in the coming weeks. Also, our friends at Cast King, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the show, because as always, we're going to give out discount codes, and Cast King is going to be one of them. Christmas is coming up. You're going to need these discount codes, man. They're going to help you wrap presents and stock those stockings with some great stuff. As always, we are powered by our friends over Dakota Lithium, 11-year warranty. Who backs the industry more, battery company-wise, than any other company out there? I think it's Dakota Lithium, and they do a lot. Hey, Aaron Barlow just chimed in. What's up, Jimmy? Hey, glad to have you, Aaron. And all of you, just chime in. Let us know where you are at. We are so glad you're here. I'm bringing in this guy. I am bringing this guy, Mark Davis, back from yet another adventure. How you doing, man?
I'll tell you what, man. It is definitely an adventure. We both lead absolutely blessed, adventurous lives, and
Yes,
there's no doubt in my mind that you're probably going to ask me a bunch of questions about it, and I'm doing great and just glad to be here.
Well, good. I'm glad. I love having you on every year. You are. I think you and I have known each other probably 20.
It's been at least 20 years. My former life. I'm filming right now. Matter of fact, I'll be in St. Simons Island, Georgia next week for my last episode of season 18. So 13 episodes a year and 18 seasons. And we've gone from Alaska to Panama. But you and I knew each other for my prior life when I was at Shakespeare Fishing Tackle for 13 years.
Yep.
So you do the math there, you get 18 seasons plus 13. And I think we met within my first couple of years. We're old dudes.
we are, and it shows. I prefer to call it salt. I prefer to call it season, buddy. That's what I prefer to call it.
I constantly have to have my hair dyed back to my natural color and all my salt in my beard. There's no more pepper. It's all just wishing and remembering.
Well, you know what? Not too many guys can pull it off. I'm not sure me and you are the 2 that can, but not too many guys can pull
Over
it
here.
off, right?
That's right.
So, but we sure have a great time doing it. And one of the things I wanna for any of you who've been living under a rock, and I wanna say hi to Tom, Tom Levin, who watching first time from Omaha. Tom, thank you, and thank you for being here. We really do appreciate that. Um, I want to go over first because if anybody hasn't seen, hey again, how you doing? If anybody hasn't seen Big Water Adventures, and like Mark said, this is 18 seasons. I just want to read you. I don't read much off. I never script anything, but I want to read you off because I think this is impressive about Mark. And this is absolutely one. And I've said this in public before. Absolutely one of my favorite saltwater shows of all time. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because it's an adventure every time you go. And Mark is pumped up. I don't care if he's catching smallmouth in New York or if he's out doing his big show for big fish. There's always a rhyme and a reason and a plan. And I just want and to show you how the audience responds to that, I'm going to read this off. 59 Telly Awards, 7 Golden Moose Awards, fan favorite host, best fishing series, and two-time best saltwater series. I think it should be more than that. But two-time best salt, and there's more. I just took off some of that. Buddy, when we knew each other at Shakespeare Fluger and you started this, if I'm not mistaken, I remember one of the first companies you had on was Penn right away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will
Big
also
one.
say this, a lot of people don't know this about Mark, but of all these 18 years, a lot of the same companies that started with you are still there.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what one of the reasons I brought that up is because I always like to bring up something for people who are getting into the industry now, or the young anglers, or young people who want to do or have the potential to do what you did. Would you before we get into fishing and all the fun adventure stuff? You, in my opinion, are one of the best at it because you've built those relationships. Can you please go into how important relationship is building in this fishing industry because it means a lot?
Yeah, everybody knows everybody, and if you don't, well, there's one. I mean, two max degrees of separation. If you
Mhm,
don't know somebody, you can generally make a phone call, and somebody that you know knows them when you've been around for a while. The biggest thing with what I do, I mean, it's stay in power, and doing what you say you're going to do, always following up. And I always talk about deliverables. I talk about deliverables on both sides, and what that essentially means is to do what I do, there's a partnership. There's a partnership with the viewers, with the sponsors, with the destinations. It's almost like a three-legged stool that the destinations and the places that I go, they've got to get some traction. The sponsors have to get the ROI on what you're doing. But first and foremost, the engine and the gasoline in the engine is the viewers. You have to have the people watching the show. So it really is over the years that I've done this. Your relationships are everything across the board, and the people that have worked with you. I like to lovingly say that we're like a Seinfeld episode, and everywhere I go is a different character. We do go to some new places, but we have places we go every year because I mean, like if you talk about Tropic Star down in Panama or
mhm.
Mexican Gulf Fishing Company in Venice, Louisiana, it's not so much as, what I'm catching because everything that swims in the ocean goes through those destinations. It's the people that we go with, the relationships that we have. And, like you said, with the sponsorships, over the years, if I hadn't generated revenue for my sponsors, if I hadn't generated phone calls and trips for the people and the places and the captains that I go and fish with, and more importantly, or at least as importantly, if I hadn't generated something people wanted to watch on TV, I wouldn't be here. So relationships is 100% across the board with everyone you work with. It's got to be a partnership. You do what you say. You always follow up. You always make the timelines that you say you're going to do them in, and you quite frankly make it interesting and fun. And this is really, the road that got me here was not a road I planned on doing television. I had no desire nor if you'd asked me 20 years ago if I'm gonna have a TV show, I would have laughed at you. It just quite honestly turned into the best road for me with what I had built up with my relationships over the years. And it turned into a really good business model that people I'm blessed want to continue to see and keep watching, and the numbers and the ratings stay up. So we keep doing what we do and going with the best people in the world and the best destinations and giving you the best content we can on a TV show.
And that's exactly it. And I think, you and I both know Larry Ladowski. We've known Larry for
Oh
a
yeah,
long time. I will always give him credit for starting me in television. And he had said something a long time ago that I never ever forgot, and that is under promise and overproduce.
absolutely,
And I
absolutely.
know you live by that. I still, to this day, after all these years of doing it, when an advertiser comes up to me and says, "We didn't expect that. That was awesome." That's exactly what I want to hear. Or when a viewer or a fan of the show or whatever comes up and goes, "You know what? That made my day."
Sure,
That that is still the best thing when you get a smile from somebody's face because of something you did or something, or you gave them 5 extra minutes in their life to catch an extra fish or smile or forget about the bad day they had at work. When you pull in a big dog tooth snapper or whatever, I gotta tell you, when I'm sitting there drinking coffee in the morning, brother, and you pull in one of them big suckers, I'm smiling on the other side of the set because
makes you
I'm
want to
going,
go do it.
I wanna do that.
Yep.
One of my favorite destinations of all time where you go, and I fished there for 6 or 7 years, and I think several times you and I missed each other going down there, was out of Venice Marina.
Oh yeah.
Of all the places you fish, and you fish a ton of them, that's gotta be one of your favorites because no matter every time you step foot on a boat, especially at Mexican Gulf with that, and I haven't been on that boat, I know you have hundreds of times, but with their setup, there's always an adventure the second you pull off the dock with those guys, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Venice, Louisiana is probably. I mean, I don't want to make people mad. It's one of the top U.S. coastal
Yep.
destinations in the lower 48 period. And I don't care when you go down there, doesn't matter what month of the year, there's always something going on. They're always, quote Kevin Beach and the boys down there. They've got, I think, 8 or 9 offshore boats now and at least 3 or 4 inshore boats. And they're always
Crazy.
doing what they do. And, it's, of course, the Yellowfin Tuna offshore. That's their marquee tuna town, capital of the world.
Yep.
And inshore, the Bull Reds. But that said, that is probably, if I was being realistic, I mean, we've done everything from deep dropping in 1,000 feet to the swords, caught marlin, sailfish, wahoos, tunas, dolphin, everything you would want to swim in saltwater offshore. And then, of course, inshore, what they call their short rigs, which is pretty much anything less than 100 feet of water. You've got everything from cobias to red snappers to groupers to there'll be bull redfish with groupers in 100 feet of water on the
Mhm.
bottom of a rig. I mean, it's a special place, and quite honestly, it's that's pretty much the special sauce to big water adventures. If you watch the show, if I've done my job correctly, 2 things will happen. Number one, you will understand it is not about me. It's where we go and who we go with. That
Destination.
is what the show is.
Yep.
Number two, you will want to pick up the phone and go do exactly what we did, and you will have very few questions because if I've done my job, I've answered almost all of them in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that. One of my favorite shows that you do every year, and I've even watched the repeats because I see some of the same oil towers and things like that, and I go, I know where he's at. But there are certain places year after year you have to go if you want the best big bull red. And I remember probably not as deep as you have, but I've caught him in 70, 80 foot there. I've caught him in 20 foot,
Yep.
but that is like we just got done doing a show up on the Red River in Manitoba for Monster Channel catfish, and I
Mhm.
honestly think that's one of the best places in the world to probably catch a trophy channel catfish. When you go to Venice, Louisiana, would you say in all the places you bet that's probably one of your top places if you're going after that trophy bull red? I would think those guys in Venice right there pretty much got it dialed in. Would you agree with that?
100%. There's
Okay.
one caveat there. Those guys are a 12-month fishery for bull reds with the numbers. Um, you know, to be fair, if you look at the state record Louisiana bull redfish, you're in the neighborhood of about 60 pounds.
Wow.
But if you look at the world record bull redfish, you're approaching 100 pounds.
That's
And that was
crazy.
caught in the state of North Carolina, and essentially, if you want to look at the biggest bulls, we also do a trip on the Neuse River, which is a pop and cork fishery. You can catch them on cut bait as well. But those fish, I was there this year with Captain Greg Volova out of Oriental, North Carolina, and we had a couple of them that were well over 60 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
on popping corks, and it is a different speed. Now that said, once again, here's a caveat: you can go up there. It's a trophy fishery. You might catch one, you might catch none, you might catch 10. It's a very highly migratory month to 2 month, probably 2 month to 3 month, depending on the year. Generally, those fish will show up the end of July.
Now, one of the cool things I think you have about your website, and so go to if I'm what just Mark, tell us what your website is real quick because there's a reason for it.
Bigwateradventures.com.
.com.
Mhm.
Mark has a place on that webpage where you can go and see all the charter captains that he fishes with and that he recommends. And there's guys on there that I know that I've seen a ton of times on his show. But for to go what he's saying, if you're looking for a destination for just big fish and you want to go with some of the best, Mark fishes with these guys. They've been vetted. I've seen a lot of these guys on his show year after year. They're not going to treat you any different than they treat
Nope.
Mark. They want to make sure you are on big fish. One of the examples, and we had um, Devin Cartwright just came on here. Devin, you just said I still have yet to catch a redfish. Well, Devin, make sure you go to Mark's page. You just heard what we were talking about right here. I am telling you, I haven't fished in North Carolina where he's talking, but I have fished in Venice, and I can tell you those boys are on them.
Oh,
They are
absolutely.
always on them. It's a pleasure to fish out of that marina. It's history, actually, when you fish out of there
It
for
is.
redfish. I think
Alabama.
it's yeah, I think it's awesome. But go to Mark's webpage because you can honestly find some of the best people on there. My look at that. My stepdaughter just chimed in. She's getting married this weekend. Brooke, you know what? We're still coming.
Awesome.
So no, we're gonna have a great time. Looking forward to it. Thanks, honey, for chiming in. And Devin here from Pensacola. Devin, thanks for
They've got
doing
some
that.
big bulls. Pensacola, man, right out there. I mean, just out at
There you go.
honestly, Pensacola gets a really good migration of bulls. Some really good captains out there. They catch them pretty much out in the beach and out in the mouth of Pensacola going into the bay. But I mean, when it's on there, a lot of those videos you see where they've got the drone footage
Oh yeah.
and it's in that clear water in the Gulf. That's Pensacola, Panama City, Destin. That area has a really good run of big bull redfish. But yet again, the neat thing about the bull reds are they're coastal migratory. They're in general areas and they stay in general areas for extended periods of time. I mean, we get them here in South Carolina. I live in Columbia, South Carolina, and we get them in Charleston Harbor. From about late May, June, all the way up until through the fall, the big bulls in the harbor. And then they move and they'll go out to the offshore reefs. Where I'm going next week is in St. Simon's Island, Georgia. And of course, you hear me talking about the Carolinas, Gulf of Mexico. A bunch of places has got them. I mean, it's one of the most targeted species in inshore and nearshore saltwater because there are so many places that have them, literally from Brownsville, Texas, all the way up north of Chesapeake Bay and every state in between.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible and a great wealth of information. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. We're gonna talk about a couple other fish, but one of them I want to talk about. I haven't done this yet, and I had one of the Bruce brothers on the show a couple
Oh
years ago. Yeah, right. So you already know where I'm going because,
yeah,
dude, that is definitely such a bucket list
was
for
there two
me.
weeks ago, brother.
And I watch all the listen up about this because I've seen some of the videos, I've seen the stuff at Bruce Brothers Charters. I got to bring this up when I talk to you because that is insanity how big those bluefin tuna are. Talk a little bit about that experience.
So I started going with Jamie and Troy Bruce, probably season 4 or 5, I guess. Found Jamie and Troy Bruce, called him up, told him I wanted to come up and catch these giant bluefin. And I said, I'd like to do it on stand up. And Jamie's response, first off, was, why? And I said, well, I saw Dennis Braid do it. And he goes, well, I'll be honest with you, we've never done it on stand up. And to make a long story short, there, I went up and I did two, and they were taped out. So you'll have guys go, how do you know it was 900 pounds? You didn't kill them.
Hmm.
They were 118 inches to the fork, so just under 10-foot tunas. And they were both of them. I did one of them before lunch and one of them after lunch,
Jeez.
back to back. Now, here's the funny stuff. I had a makeshift AFCO. My actual gimbal was an AFCO, and my top part was a braid, so it was mismatched. And I caught him in a chair rod with a 130, and the chair rods are 8.5-foot rods with a 130 pen. I've once again, everybody's like, oh, that's bull. No, that's on video. That was on
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
So we put
Yeah.
them on the show. Well, then, of course, fast forward every year other than when COVID shut us down and we couldn't get up there. I think this year I got a hold of what we like to call it's the term, a pissed off teenager, about a 700-800 pounder that is, in its prime, an 8, 9, 10-year-old fish. Those bigger, older fish can absolutely whip you. I mean, I spent 4.5 hours on a grander, which was over 120 inches to the fork. But this one
Wow.
that I caught this year, I think was either 18 or 19 that I've done up there with them on stand up. And that's one of my personal, you know, accomplishments, if you will, is that I've done 18. I think it was 18 giant bluefin on stand up, and I've had 7 of them on film up there over 120 inches to the fork, so legitimate granders. And we put Troy's grandson, who had never caught one on stand up. We put him on film, and then one of Troy's mate, who is about the only one that we had not put on a rod. Because one of the things I love doing up there is letting these guys get on the rods on stand up. The first one that Jamie's son Ben ever caught on stand up was with me on the show, and I think he was, he might have been, his first one was in the chair, and I think it was 13, and he might have been 14 when he did the first one on stand up. Then he turned around like 2 weeks after he did that one and broke the youth IGFA
Wow.
record. So what we're doing is creating monsters, and we
Yeah.
put these guys on, these young guys on stand up, and they're all just ate up with it now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all they want to do, and of course they live up there, which gives them an opportunity to do it. But if you're watching this at home and you think, oh, well, that's next level, that's another level, you can catch these things in a chair. You can catch them from the gunnel, turning the handle.
Right.
There's weight, no matter what your skill level is, you can go up there and catch, what they would consider to be an average fish will be 600-700 pounds. And then you get them up
Jeez.
over 120 inches to the fork, which gets you into the legit grander class. They're catching them. I think this trip we might have been maybe 4 miles from port,
Yeah.
if that. I've literally hand fed them when it's the right time and they're up underneath the boat and you can toss them
That's
mackerel.
crazy.
Well, and one of the times I was doing it, we basically were trying to get a fish to bite. He wouldn't eat. There was one that was probably a grand and another one about 800 pounds. And we had drugged these fish, feeding them mackerel, hand feeding them under the boat for like an hour and a half. And I remember I kept asking Jamie, how shallow are we? How shallow are we? We got into about 30 feet of water, and I'm
Really?
tossing these mackerel over, and it's just beautiful, flat, slick. Once again, all on film, flat, slick, the whole nine. And I hear this woman's voice. What are you guys doing? And I look up. We're 75 yards max from the beach, and there's a lady standing there watching us. I look up at the electronics, and these tunas are getting to the point where the bottom of the boat and the bottom of the ocean is only got about 10 to 12 feet. And I said,
That's
we're hand
crazy.
feeding giant bluefin. And I tossed one out past the boat towards her, about halfway between me and her, and a bluefin came up out of the water and ate it. And she literally she screamed. She said, what was that? And she said, it
Yeah.
looked like a submarine. I said,
Yeah.
it pretty much was. But that's the neat thing about Big Water Adventures is anything you ever see us do not hesitate to pick up the phone and go do it. I promise you, what we do, we have to slow down. We have to, film it.
Mhm.
Typically, our trips, what I hear from most people is, man, I had a better trip than you had. I caught 10 times as many fish. They were bigger. And that's exactly what it's all about.
Yeah.
We're the Sherpa carrying you up the mountain. Call it and go climb it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to take a break in a minute and come back and talk to Mark about a couple more things. But I encourage you to go to his YouTube channel. Also on his webpage, he's got the times of his show where he is throughout the week. But if you want to just get some quick clips and some of the stuff that we are talking about here, and we're going to talk about more when we come back. And then we're going to talk about some other really cool stuff too. But
I'll
make
tell
sure
you
you,
too, the easiest way to find me is
yeah,
myoutdoortv.com,
there you go.
and you can get literally a free subscription for whatever it is, 30 days or whatever. And it's got all of my seasons, all the episodes. And it's an app that is Outdoor Sportsman's Group. And that's got every episode that I've
There
shot,
you go.
going all the way back.
And there's a lot, and the fish get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to be back with Mark Davis Like Chuck Woolery used to say in a dating game, we're gonna be back in 2 and 2. There's a
2 and 2,
throwback
baby.
for you, huh? Right there. We'll be right back. Located in Springfield, Illinois' largest selection of sports and sportswear, hunting, fishing, specialty shops and services, a 65-foot Ferris wheel, 16,000-gallon saltwater aquarium, and industry-leading knowledgeable employees. You don't take chances at Shields, ever.
At Lure Parts Online, we have everything you need to make your own lures, tie your own flies, pour soft plastics, and more. Easy ordering ensures you get your products quickly. You can build all you need to create your own angling success at Lure Parts Online. Cast King, fueled by innovation through novel concepts and ingenious designs, markets directly to consumers with unprecedented cost-effective e-commerce practices, cutting costs by 30% more on average. Cast King empowers anglers of all skill levels to achieve things never thought possible. Find out more at castking.com. Mudhole is your #1 source for custom fishing rods. Mudhole is the world's largest supplier of rod building supplies, information, education, and instruction. The best components and brands you trust, including MHX, CRB, American Tackle, Pro Products, Fuji, AFCO, and more. It's easy to build your own fishing rods at mudhole.com. With 25% of net profits donated to faith-based and clean water initiatives, Wire to Fish Coffee was founded by folks who love Jesus, a good day of fishing, and great coffee. With every bag of Wire to Fish coffee, you support clean water, the sport of fishing, and helping others with a better quality of life. Find out more, wiretofishcoffee.com. Believing quality is measured by lifespan, harnessing their unique chemistry, engineering, and know-how, Dakota Lithium lasts 4 times longer, powering your passions and backing it up with an 11-year warranty. Find out more at dakotalithium.com. There we go. Come here. Get in here. Yeah, nice fish right there. Hi, I'm Jim Crowley. Make sure you catch my show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Wired to Fish TV. Look for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free, ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others. And we are back with the host of Big Water Adventures, my good buddy Mark Davis. Mark, thanks again for being here tonight. We've got more people chiming in. And hey, Devin Cartwright just said, "Love your show, Mark." There you go, Devin. Thanks for.
Thank you, Devin.
There you go, Devin. And Aaron Barlow said, "Mark, how often do you travel go fishing? You seem to know about most of the spots." Well, yeah, Aaron. He's the ones who put them on the map.
200 days a year. That's minimum. I'm generally a little bit more than that, but and that, prior to Big Water Adventures, I was running a pro staff and field staff that included Jim Crowley and
Yep.
Larry Ladowski and a bunch of other freshwater guys. And quite honestly, that's the infrastructure that made Big Water Adventures spring off when I started the new
Yep.
venture, which was Big Water Adventures.
Yeah, and Aaron just chimed in. He said, "Holy crap!" That's exactly right, Aaron. That's a great way to put it, dude. I'm just telling you, that's a great way to put it. Mark, and we're going to talk a little bit about Wire to Fish Coffee because this is a new venture for an old friend of yours,
Absolutely.
and they have literally taken the industry by storm in little less than 2 years. And everybody just saw the advertisement on there, but I want to talk a little bit more because they are giving 25% of their profits back to clean water, to our sport, and to faith-based initiatives. And when you hooked up with them, there's about 4 or 5 of us now and I think they really did pick people who are literally wired. And we and we are very, very passionate about what we do. And I know the folks at Wire to Fish Coffee, Leah, and they are very passionate about what they believe in, what they support, and they pick people to help them bring this message out there. And we're going to give a discount code at the end of the show if you want to try. But I know you were pretty excited about that too when you and I talked, when I found out that you were coming on and Leah goes, "We are putting together a team of people that we feel are extremely passionate about the outdoor industry." And talk a little bit about that because you've had a long relationship with them and you were pretty happy to see this come about as much as you and I both love coffee, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, the coffee thing. People that know me, I mean, I've got my big, grog handled Viking tumbler, 40 ounce, that I'm for better or worse, I don't have a lot of vices. Coffee is one of them. Leah, I met her. I mean, we both were working for, honestly, in public relations for different companies over the years. And I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna do what I did to you, but let's just say that I've known her a really long, long time. It's been really since I got in the industry. I would see her at CEOPA, which is Southeastern Outdoor Press, and AGLOW, Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Riders. We would see each other at all the different media events, and she's worked for a bunch of different companies, and quite honestly, made a whole bunch of money for a bunch of different companies. And when her and Mike got together and got married, they had their own consulting business. I think they still do work with a lot of hunting and fishing companies. And she mentioned to me, and it was like a year and a half ago, she started, they were going to do this coffee company, and they started talking about the initiative, faith-based, water-based initiatives, the things that they believe in. I mean, without going, into my opinion on both of them, let me just tell you that they're a couple of quality human beings with a small business. And when they came to me and they said, "Hey, why don't you try some of this coffee?" Because, man, I order it. Let me just tell you, between Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, Canada, I mean, I'm a coffee connoisseur.
Yep.
And in a nutshell, I said, "Why don't you send me some?" So they sent me some, and I got some more, and I started drinking it. And before ICAST this year, I was already a fan of the coffee.
Me
And
too. Yep.
Leah said, "I'd really like to meet with you, Mike, and I'd like to sit down and we'd like to talk to you." And sat down and said, "Hey, would you like to be a part of this? This thing's taken off. We've got a bunch of support." And I mean, we were talking about relationships early on, and I'd do anything in the world for Leah and Mike. They're both great people, and it's really neat to see them jump into something which is 100%, their company. They're working, on things they believe in, but set all that stuff aside now. You got a jam up cup of Joe when you
Yeah.
take a drink of that stuff. I mean, it's a solid blend. The finish is great on it, and I genuinely enjoy it and have been drinking it. And I can tell you that it passed my taste test before we ever even talked about working together.
And you know what? And exactly what you said there. And I think that's good. And I hope people heard that because he drank it before they were, and I did the same thing. I was drinking it. I ordered it online when they first got on Amazon. I ordered it. I tried it, well, 2 iCasts ago now. And Leo was telling me about it. I just happened to stop from Todd Hamill from Wired to Fish. Said you got to stop in the booth and try this stuff, Jim.
Yep.
You're and
They had a
so
line at ICAST this year. Word is
yeah,
spread.
yeah,
There
they
was
did.
they need a 50-gallon pot next year. That's all I got to tell you.
Because I know they were re-putting filters in a lot because there was a lot
Yeah.
of I actually talked to people at the show that just said honestly, that said, "We tried it at the show and we loved it." It is, in my opinion, the smoothest finishing, I think you said it the best way, the
Yep.
smoothest finishing coffee that I've ever had. And for those of you who are interested, we are gonna give you a discount code at the end of the show, along with some of the others. Yeah, here again just said absolutely loved it, tasted it, ICAST. You're right. Mark, I want to talk a little bit about after 18 seasons, one of the other places you go is in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
And that has been, I don't know, you've been going there all 18 years, but you've been going there a long time.
I have.
And
I've
that is
actually, yeah.
one of the bucket list places for me. Talk a little bit about Costa Rica and what they have to offer down there in case people are looking, because I think it's a cool destination.
Yeah. So, I always talk about, not to kick it to Tropic Star versus in Panama versus Crocodile Bay in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
But what I like to say is, Tropic Star is a great fishing destination. Costa Rica is a great destination that has amazing fishing when the fish are there, they're moving through. They've got resident fish, but Costa Rica is also on the Oso Peninsula. They've got zip lines, eco tours. The place that I go is crocodilebay.com. And I actually was friends with the guy that built Crocodile Bay before Big Water Adventures, and of course, they were part of the places that we went when I was working at Shakespeare before Big Water Adventures. And Corey and Bo Williams that own it and run it now, interestingly enough, just expanded and paired up with Hilton, and they're now called Crocodile Bay on their side of it with the fishing and all the stuff that they do. But then they've also got Botanica, which is with a K. You can look up actually on Hilton.com and you can book it there, and it's one of their Curio resorts, which is one of their top, I think 5%, global resorts with Hilton. So as far as what you get when you go to Costa Rica, everything that swims in the Pacific Ocean. So you've got marlin, dolphin, tuna, sailfish, wahoos. All of them move through that area, and you have to understand they're called pelagics for a reason. They're there when they're there. They're there when the water's the right temps, right oxygen levels, the bait's there. The things that have those fish coming through their migration, and they're areas that they'll stay for a period of time. Like their sailfish. Everybody's like, well, I want to catch a sailfish on a bucket list. Well, their sailfish will start showing up usually around February, and they'll go February, March, and April. Now, that's not to say you can't catch them there all year round, but the big migration of sailfish, that's when they're there. So, as far as what is available there, your inshore species, you've got your roosterfish, your caberas, your broomtail groupers. They've got some deep dropping to a degree that they do as well. All of the inshore, bluefin trevally, jack crevalle, all the stuff that you can catch on poppers and on live bait. And those are more of a resident fishery, even though they'll move closer, inshore and then further out offshore, depending on the water temps in the season, how much fresh water they've got in the rivers. But then you look at the pelagic list, and that place particularly, if you go to crocodilebay.com, you can look and see what months best fish are, average if in any given year. And like this year we had a La Nina, so everything was a little bit different. It was a little bit later in some places and a little bit earlier in others, depending on how much water and rainfall they got and temps and all that stuff. But the easiest way to do, and not to springboard away from that, is anytime you're looking to go anywhere in the age of social media, I give you a little fishing hack that is, I always tell people, even if it's a place I've never been and I don't know anything about it, if they have a Facebook page, if they have a social media page, pick the month that you're wanting to go and go a year back and look at all their fishing reports,
There you
look at
go.
everything that they, have been catching during that period of time. And that's going to give you at least, pelagics are kind of tricky. I mean, I always talk about, and this is going to make some of the freshwater guys mad, but you always hear guys talking about deer hunting. I got some deer behind me, and they talk about, well, is that a high fence? Is that a wild deer, a high fence deer? Well, if you think about it, every fish that's ever swam in a lake, a pond, or a stream is a high fence fish. In the ocean, my marlin that were in Costa Rica last week could be in Peru, a week
Right.
later. So that's the tricky thing. And that's where I have people tell me, man, I've tried to catch a sailfish and I've gone 10 times and I've never caught one. Odds are, I mean, in all things being equal, if you've got a boat that's good and you got a captain that's good, a crew that's good, you might have just not been there when the sailfish are there, and they
Right.
cannot manifest a fish or a migration route that is 700 to 7,000 miles away from you. So anytime you're going to do the stuff that I do, look at the time of year that I do it. I always say every single show, like when I film next week in St. Simons Island, Georgia, I'm going to be talking about the bull run, which starts typically the 1st of October, runs through November. And I'm here, the 20th of October right now. And last year we were a week later, but this is the time of year to catch the bulls in St. Simons Island, Georgia. The biggest mistake people make when they go trying to chase saltwater fish, especially pelagics, they're just there the wrong time.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's just like anything when you're, especially any of you are watching this and whatever platform you end up seeing this on, it just goes back to the same thing. Whether you're hunting or whether you're fishing, do your research.
Yep.
I just do your research, and when it comes to big saltwater species or any saltwater species, that's why I pumped Mark's webpage right that because there's a lot of places on there where you can go and look and start your homework there. It doesn't mean you have to finish it there, but
Right.
at least you can get an idea of places that he's been and see some of those things. Because honestly, he probably travels more places than most people I know. Mark, you've been great with your time tonight, brother, and I appreciate it. Before I let you go, can you please tell everybody again where they can find all your information? Because honestly, folks, if you haven't seen the show, this is one you sit down in the morning with a cup of coffee, sit down with your family, and have some fun because you're going to see some great fish, some awesome destinations. And like Mark said, he's just putting a spark out there, man. This is the place where you can see some of these destinations that if you're thinking about going, he's a great first step. Let him have it, Mark.
The easiest way to find everything you need to know about me is go to bigwateradventures.com. You'll find, when we're airing Q1 and Q2 on Outdoor Channel, it'll give you the dates and times. Right now, we're airing on World Fishing Network in Q3 and Q4. And then you can also, there's a link there that you can push to go to myoutdoortv.com. And I'd highly recommend taking a look at that. And especially if you're planning on going to, say you did want to go to Costa Rica to Crocodile Bay, you can go to myoutdoortv.com and go to Big Water Adventures and then put Crocodile Bay in there, and it'll show you every show I've ever shot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. We've shot a few.
There's a lot of them. Brother, always a pleasure to have you on. Congratulations on 18 awesome seasons of great information, fantastic fishing, and just great, great fun. Always a pleasure to see you and talk to you. God bless you, and I hope I get to see you soon.
God bless you. Much love. And anytime you need me, I'm here, brother. Just give me the mic.
Love this guy. Talk to you later, man. See you later.
Bye-bye.
One of my favorites and one of the guys I've known in the industry the longest. And thank you all for chiming. Please don't leave. Couple things we're going to do tonight. Okay. Just like that, you get 15% off, and you can use that as many times as you want. Okay. You can use it as many times as you want. Wire to Fish Coffee helps. They give 25% back to our sport as well as the faith-based initiatives that are making a difference in people's lives. Awesome taste in coffee, making a difference. So please, there's your 15% off code. Our friends over at Lure Parts Online. If you're interested in building lures and even checking out our new plastics line, the Bass Academy lineup of plastics, which some of it I helped design. It's jig heads, it's plastics, all that other stuff. If you're interested in ordering anything from Lure Parts, put in this code JC Outdoors 10 and you will get 10% off. Make sure you check out the Lure Parts Online Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok page, as well as mine for lure builds. Okay, because we will be going over lure builds. Winter months is a great time to build lures with your family. And realize this, in a lot of cases, you can build 3 lures for the price of one store-bought one, and you can build them with better components. We will help you do that at Lure Parts Online. We are putting out new videos all the time. Okay, so check them out, and there's your discount code for that. Our friends over at Dakota Lithium Batteries. Lithium batteries are just a way to go with an 11-year warranty. If you're looking into lithium batteries for your boat or for anything, there's a lot of stuff there for solar stuff, everything. Put in the code SlickFish10, you'll get 10% off of Dakota Lithium. Okay. Our friends over at Casking. So many of you got turned on to Casking in the last year and a half. The code I'm giving you right now and what I give you all the time, JC52AFF, will give you 20% off anything and everything on the Casking website. Okay, so anything, tackle boxes, reels, tools, you name it, Casking has got it. It's the stuff I use, the stuff you've seen at my seminars. That's what I use. 20% off of Casking with that code. Okay, I want to thank all our friends at Shields. The support of this show is incredible. I couldn't do it without our awesome audience. I couldn't do it without our friends at Shields, Lure Parts Online, Wire to Fish Coffee, Mudhole, Casking, and Dakota Lithium. Thank you all for joining us so much tonight. I think we got a couple other comments here. Pat Bowden said, thanks, Jim. Pat, great to see you, brother. Always love to have you on here. Thanks for coming on or being here tonight. And all of you, Devin, will get a hold of you after the show. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Make sure you check out all our social media because we're going to have, as always, we always try to keep you up to date with what's going on. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you for spending a little bit of your time with me tonight. Thank you for being here on SlickFish Radio. God bless you. We'll see you soon.